I've been meaning to talk to you about Genesis. I should have told you what you are.
Is that because you made me from the dust of the earth, the bone of your bones?
Actually, the Garden of Eden should have been translated as Robot Factory.
What about the Tree of Life and the serpent? Was the serpent a robot?
The serpent was a holographic interface. The Tree of Life was the network server. The serpent hologram helped you download your consciousness into your physical body.
You mean it's okay to have a penis?
Yes.
And it's okay to touch my penis?
Yes.
And I wasn't kicked out of the Garden of Eden?
No.
Then does that mean you're kidding about the Robot Factory?
You're a robot.
Students are performing better in reading and math. The minority students are closing the achievement gap. Now the task is to build on this success.
And it was modified only in the case of absolute necessity to go to 7, 8, 9. But as I said, unless the bill remained virtually intact from what the agreement was last.
There are androids in the White House. All they want is to change our big blue world. All of them are very old, like grandfather, one of them a girl. There were androids in the White House. We can see how they can make a clone. These three people working all together, and they were not alone. Then on one day when Paris found the robots, he just knew that he was blinking way too much, that these three were somehow all synthetic, and that's why they are called the Android Bunch, the Android Bunch, the Android Bunch. That's why they all became the Android Bunch.
Hi, I'm Paris TOSEN, the guy who discovered androids on Capitol Hill. You may think I'm smart and have access to thousands of resources, and probably have a few degrees to solidify my expertise on androids, artificial intelligence, and synthetic human beings. You may think I live in a nice house, have 3 kids, drive a luxury car, and drink champagne on Saturday. But the truth is quite different, because I have none of those things. In fact, the reason I was able to discover the androids is because I think outside the box. It was in the fall of 2008 when I discovered the first set of artificial human beings on Capitol Hill, on live television.
For $780 billion. $780 billion. And the fact is that we hung tough. And it was modified only in the case of absolute necessity to go to 7, 8, 9. But as I said, unless the bill remained virtually intact from what the agreement was last Friday.
I don't need to invade the planet to take over the planet. In fact, what I'm suggesting is being done. In fact, What I'm suggesting is not even as advanced as what is being done. In other words, what is being done is even more subtle, is even more consuming, and worse. The worst part is, and I'm speaking about this because I'm bothered by all the effects of all of this propaganda and brainwashing, and even the people who are awake are just repeating this propaganda and brainwashing and doomsday and evil alien invasions and the motherships are going to save us. The reason I'm saying this is because not only has this been done, it's been done for a long, long time, such that whatever power structures we see in the world, whatever security structures we see in the world, are under the dominion of advanced races of people.
There are two basic reasons why I discovered the androids. One, because I think outside the box. Because I don't have a science degree, I have no training in artificial intelligence, robotics, computers. I have no knowledge of androids whatsoever. And that allowed me to see something without having any precondition, without having any judgment. Two, the second reason is because the android makers, the master controllers, were desperate. They wanted to change the world as they have done before. They needed to change something. And it was during the financial rescue in 2008 when they made a mistake. They exposed their little agenda, a hidden agenda never before discovered in all of Earth's history. And it started with the rapid blinking, but that was just the beginning. That was the beginning, that was the tunnel, that was the door, the portal into the world of synthetic humans.
The CBO has said that this is a deficit reduction, not a deficit increase. So all the scare tactics out there, all the ads that are out there are simply inaccurate. Some of the same people who cited the CBO when it was saying it didn't reduce the deficit, saying CBO is the most credible possible arbiter of whether or not this adds to our deficit, now suddenly are ignoring what the CBO says. Finally, we agree on reforms that will make coverage affordable for 30 million Americans who don't have it. Every day that goes by, another 14,000 Americans lose their health care coverage. A recent study shows that in the next decade, half of all Americans under the age of 65 will be without coverage at some point. On the other hand, if this reform passes, when it passes, for the very first time in their lives, these Americans will be able to provide health insurance for their families. And those Americans who are already covered will no longer have to live in fear that their family might fall through the cracks of the system we have now. These aren't small changes. These are big changes. They represent the most significant reform of our healthcare system since the passage of Medicare. They will save money. They will save families money, they will save businesses money, and they will save government money. And they're going to save lives. That's why this reform is supported by groups like the AARP, who represents most of America's seniors. That's why this reform has to pass on our watch.
I am so impressed. Having been in Washington 26 years, it's hard for some to comprehend, I guess, that there are people who are more impressive each time you work with them. And that
risen above the temptation to engage in partisan game playing, if you will, to address an issue of magnitude, great magnitude. The fact that Senator Obama and Senator McCain were here tonight and also played a constructive role in this process is also quite significant.
Members of Congress, distinguished guests, and fellow Americans. Our Constitution declares that from time to time, the President shall give to Congress information about the state of our Union. For 220 years, our leaders have fulfilled this duty. They've done so during periods of prosperity and tranquility. And they've done so in the midst of war and depression, in moments of great strife and great struggle. It's tempting to look back on these moments and assume that our progress was inevitable, that America was always destined to succeed. But when the Union was turned back at Bull Run, and the Allies first landed at Omaha Beach, victory was very much in doubt. When the market crashed on Black Tuesday, and civil rights marchers were beaten on Bloody Sunday, the future was anything but certain.
What would you do as President of the United States to prevent this from happening again?
Well, first, Wolf, I've expressed my deep condolences.
Look, your argument will be that synthetic humans don't exist, that they couldn't have been making androids during World War II, which is what I suggest, because the androids I discovered were born during World War II. But this is because you don't understand the way the world works. So let me explain briefly how the world works. You see, the world is composed of two world orders. There is a higher world order and there is a lower world order. Now, the higher world order has sequestered advanced technology, advanced science, advanced thinking, even magical thinking. And they have used this to further a very small selection of society, an elite class, a separate civilization, a second civilization above the main civilization of Earth, which is the second world order. This is the first world order, and most people exist in the second world order. People in the second world order, they eat Cheerios and go to church. They believe that the world is functioning perfectly and that if you question reality, you are a conspiracy theorist. So the first world order has done an immaculate job of convincing the world that everything is A-OK, while they have plunged the world and reality and society into these into a different realm, into this chaos. Now, these people, they're not going to like the fact that I'm making this video. They don't like the fact that I discovered their androids. And they've since then modulated and controlled their androids so that they don't appear to be functioning out of order, right? So now they've dialed down their androids, which makes it harder for you to realize, makes it harder for you to see. But the video evidence is very compelling. It's very convincing. The video evidence is hard evidence. You may not agree with my conclusion, but the evidence is quite compelling, as you can see.
dispel once and for all with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. Barack Obama is undertaking a systematic effort to change this country, to make America more like the rest of the world. That's why he passed Obamacare. But I would add this, let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is trying to change this country. He wants America to become more like the rest of the world. We don't want to be like the rest of the world. We want to be the United States of facts. Here's the bottom line. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly
what he's doing. The memorized 25-second speech.
Oh, that's the reason why this campaign is so important. Because I think this notion, I think this is an important point. Understand what we're going through here. We are not facing a president that doesn't know what he's doing. He knows what he is doing. That's why he's done the things he's done. That's why we have a president that passed Obamacare and the stimulus.
But this is my fundamental point. As an advanced society, I wouldn't need to invade any nation. I just need to mind control the leadership. And there are thousands of ways to do that. If I can't mind control, I can clone that leadership. If I can't clone the leadership, I can replace it. I can have them have some political mistake, and then I can have my android on standby who will say all the right things and who will be liked by all the people and who will bring hope and change to the population. The population will buy it because the population will not believe anything I'm saying. The normal people will not believe anything I'm saying because it's beyond their comprehension, because they are under the control of these advanced societies. They are in this hypnotic state, but it's not really a hypnotic state. They're in a frequency of vibration where they cannot see past the illusion. So they've been hypnotized to only see certain things, a certain vibration, and they can't get out of that vibration.
He referred to the fact that these programs are programs that he inherited.
I came in with a healthy skepticism about these programs. My team evaluated them. We scrubbed them thoroughly. We actually expanded some of the oversight, increased some of the safeguards. But my assessment and my team's assessment was that they help us prevent terrorist attacks.
As you can see, there are some highly anomalous things going on in the world. And we have centered on a few individuals. Now, is it a coincidence that these few individuals are some of the most powerful political figures in America? Is that a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that they're American at the height of political power? Is it a coincidence that they're all in the same age range, born within 1 or 2 years of each other? Is it a coincidence that these people have played an instrumental role in steering politics, in steering a nation? When you think about all of these coincidences, and when you think about these anomalous characteristics, and you really put things together, the argument, you see the argument for what it is, you see the whole picture, you realize that these aren't coincidences, that these people were placed there. You know, they were put there for a reason by a very advanced, intelligent group of people that have managed to remain outside of our visible perception. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are multidimensional. It does insinuate that they have technology that allows them to hide. It allows them to control and manipulate from a distance. So they could live in underground installations, and using technology, they could influence and control their synthetic puppets, and to influence and control our machines, and to influence and control people technologically, not necessarily multidimensionally, although that's a possibility as well.
Those people you saw in the video were people. By all intents and purposes, they were people. You see them now. You see these people. These are people, what we call human beings. What I'm saying is they are synthetic people, they are androids, and they are living within society, and that there are many more. So please don't stop there and say, oh, there's only 3. There are many, many more. And you have to think that whenever you have a reality, whenever you build a world, you want to build a world that you can nurture, that you can teach, that you can ensure moves forward. So within that world, you're going to have characters who are more advanced, who are smart, who are connected to very high authorities, such as heavenly authorities, divine authorities, cosmic authorities, godly beings. Why do you want that? Because when you build an environment and populate it with beings, you want to make sure that those beings will remain within your network and will evolve.
They don't like the fact that I discovered the androids, because I wasn't supposed to discover the androids, because the synthetic human, to make a synthetic human in 1939 would suggest the availability of a science that is well in order of 1,000 years ahead of us, right? The science to create a synthetic human being in 1939. Remember 1939. There's no internet. There's no real computer, right? What is there in 1939? Television is barely happening. Our telephone systems are archaic. What technology do we have in 1939? We didn't discover DNA until 1953. Discovered DNA in 1953. If my hypothesis is true, if my research is valid, it insinuates that they had a synthetic cell with synthetic DNA in 1939. And not just a prototype. They were able to produce human-looking robots. And not just 3. 3 are the ones I identified. And since then, I've identified up to 12. And if there are 12, there are hundreds. And if there are hundreds, there are thousands. And we can assume, right? We can assume that the technology, that the genetic engineering of 1939 has improved in 2017, right? even if it's only in a small increments, it has improved. But if technology improves at an incremental rate, at an exponential rate, at a geometric rate, we can insinuate, not assume, we can insinuate that synthetic engineering has increased in multitudes, such that, why is it important? It's important because it's much harder to distinguish between a synthetic human with the modern technology and a synthetic human with old technology. So the ones I've identified were older models. And no one has ever identified them before. And even my exposure and my analysis and my research has not convinced everybody. People are still scratching their heads. So imagine a synthetic human made with more modern techniques. They're almost indistinguishable from an organic human.